Now we're going to talk about the structure and the balance of the wine. How can we make a judgment about the body of the wine, about the structure of the wine? Well, that's why we spent so much time talking about the harsh components and the soft components. I will start by saying that structure, the body of the wine, needs presence. So in theory, the presence of all of the things that we talked about, the tannins, the smoothness, the alcohol, the sugar, the polyalcohol, the polyols, the smoothness components, the tannins, they directly increase the structure, the body of the wine. So if you're with a wine that has high alcohol level, that has high tannins, if you're with such a red, you're with a wine that's full-bodied. What is the exception? I'm going to say it beforehand. Acidity. When the acidity is higher, that's the only exception. Take it as a rule of thumb. When the acidity of a wine is higher, then you're likely to be with a wine that has lesser body, that has lighter body. Also because if you think about the red wines, the big red wines that can be aged, as the time passes, the acidity goes down. The highness of acidity decreases the body of the wine. It's fresher, it's something more juvenile, it's something more refreshing. This is the only exception. So when I think about the body of a wine, if alcohol is high, okay, it contributes to the body. If the sugar level is high, yes, this contributes to the high structure. If the smoothness is high, yes, this has a direct effect on the structure. If the tannins are high, yes, but when it comes to acidity, it increases, of course, the astringency, the harshness, the direct impact, but in terms of the weight and body of the wine, it's the negative effect. It makes a negative job. So that really is the definition of body. If you're with a wine that has high alcohol, high tannins, you're with a wine that's full-bodied. If you're with a red wine, for example, Schiava, with very low tannins, with very low alcohol, then probably you're with a wine of light body. But that's the body. It's the presence of all of these harshness and smoothness molecules we talked about with the negative effect of acidity. How can you make a judgment about the body? You can say that it's light. You can say that the body is medium minus. You can say that the wine is of medium body. You can say it's medium plus body. You can say that the wine is full structured, it's full bodied. If you're with a wine that's really imponent, that has high levels of alcohol, tannins, high of all of these things, except for the acidity. Another very important discussion we have to make is on the balance. The balance of those components we talked about, the balance of harshness and the balance of softness. First of all, you have to understand that the harsh components and the soft components, they worked in opposite directions. So for example, if you're with a wine with a high acidity, if the alcohol of this wine is also high, they may be in a great balance, and you really do not perceive the acidity of this wine as harsh because there's this high alcohol to balance this acidity. With the same logic, if you have a wine with high tannins, but if you have also high alcohol level in the wine, then you're with a wine that's in balance because the alcohol, it covers this high tannin level. That's the balance. When we think of the balance, we think about the balance of the harsh components and the soft components of the wine. The perfect equilibrium is that all of these molecules that we talked about are in perfect balance. So if you have low alcohol, for the wine to be in balance, you want low tannins. These are things that can balance each other. But in reality, in most of the time, you're not going to find wines that are in perfect balance. Some of those components are going to be perceived in a much more direct manner. And in this case, you will make your judgment based on the balance of the wine. For example, if you're with a young wine that has low alcohol levels, but that has high acidity by nature, because young wines have higher acidity, and if maybe during the maceration process there is a lot of tannic extraction, then probably you're with a wine that's not in perfect balance. You're with a wine in which the harshness components are much more pronounced. You should say it when you talk about balance. Conversely, if you're with a wine that has lost its freshness, its vivacity, its vividness, but that has a lot of high alcohol, high smoothness, you may have this problem, for example, from southern wines. It's not a problem per se, but it's a characterization. You could say that this wine, the balance of this wine, is more directed towards the smoothness. And how can you present your judgment? You can say that the wine is very well balanced. You can say it's medium balanced, it's adequately balanced. Or you could say it's off. The wine is not that balanced, because you have to make then a judgment about the harshness or about the softness. You could say the acidity has been lost it's really smooth, this wine, the balance is towards the smoothness. Or you could say the tannic structure and the acidity are two components that dominate over the smooth components of this wine, so I perceive that the balance is off. Then you could continue to reach its optimum balance. This wine needs some time. You see all these logical connections that I've been trying to make since the beginning of this course. Of course, harshness has 3 components, the softness has 3 components, so the perfect balance between these things analytically is a bit hard to analyze. You will also feel it. You will feel, really, this wine is in balance, everything balances each other in a perfect manner. It's balanced. You should also use your soul, use your subjectivity, but make your judgments based on these analyses for softness and harshness.